What makes a good anime? Or better, how do you make a good anime? Do you focus on one specific element that will make it shine, or is it wiser to make every element of it at least decent? It's hard to answer that since there is no formula. You can't simply choose specific words to say in the anime so that people turn mindless and buy them. So every anime that comes out has to face a sort of risk, making things really interesting. Hello audience and welcome to Yvern's Box. Today we'll be looking at the 13 episode long 2012 anime known as K, or more fancily known as K Project. Done by Studio Gohans, this anime is a lot more than the name might give off. So K takes place in a technologically advanced city named Shizume City. On the surface it's a beautiful, colorful and vibrant city with everything seeming relatively peaceful. Near the city lies an island where we can find the high school that our main protagonist Yashiro attends. Yashiro lives his life as a relatively relaxed and peaceful guy, never doing much to get in other people's way and not wanting other people to get in his way. All that changes one day when a video depicting a murder of a member from Homura, a sort of clan or gang that rules and controls a part of the city. So what makes this video a problem is we find that the murder looks eerily similar to our good old Yashiro, and the other members of Homura think so too, so of course they decide to hunt him down. And obviously Yashiro doesn't want to be hunted down. Now, like I've said before, Shizume City looks peaceful on the outside, but in reality it's run by several different gangs or clans as they like to call it. Each of these clans are led by people called kings who have each immense magical powers, at least enough to destroy the city if they go out of control. As such, an unspoken agreement was made to not overdo things. And while I highly like the idea of a turf war within an anime, the way that it was done felt very amateurish. It simplified things awkwardly and events concluded in a very strange way. The story as a whole felt like elements were added as they went along with little planning being done. Things would get explained only when the situation would make no sense, and character backstories get thrown much too late for us to require them to enjoy the characters. Its plot didn't bring anything new and the way it was done was arguably mediocre. Oddly, while it wasn't exactly the most impressive story, something about it was very appealing. Maybe somewhere between the interesting concepts and the out-of-the-blue plot twist, something about it just stood out. It was the kind of feeling where after finishing it, you felt like telling somebody about it, to recommend it to watch it, without necessarily understanding why. As you can guess, to make a good turf war anime, a large cast is needed, and on that note, K does deliver, for better or for worse. Most characters were very linear, barely being interesting enough to note. They usually fell into the categories of either likable or unlikable, and rarely flickers from one to the other. However, that's looking at it from an overall point of view. There are actually some characters that are worth more than that, with Yashiro being a decent example. Yashiro remains a major mystery throughout the series, even though he does play the role of the main character. But this is his selling point. While he does seem nice and kind from what we can gather of the most part of the anime, the Yashiro in the video evidence displays a much more dark and cruel version of himself, and discovering which of those is the real facade becomes the driving force to continue watching on. Generally speaking, the kings are pretty entertaining to watch. Each of them have their own goals, personalities, and quirks that makes them unique or at least stand out from each other. Still, they felt sort of one-sided, if not pre-made templates. The rest of the important characters rarely fall out of the same problem, with the main female character being arguably nothing more than fan service. Still, I found myself finding something about them as being very charming, pushing me to watch on to learn what will happen to them next. It's hard to define K from an aesthetical standpoint. The animation is fluid, the character designs are pretty, and the effects remain appealing throughout the show. The city has its own vibe and gives off both a very colorful and happy tone. At the same time, the plot allows for the visual to really give its all, and it doesn't hesitate to show off. Yet, it isn't exactly the perfect anime either. The music was, in my humble opinion, borderline bad. Okay, I admit that's somewhat harsh. The opening song Kings by Angela, and the ending song Tsumetaheya Hitori? Something like that. By Mikako Komatsu, for example, wasn't bad, especially when paired with the opening's visual, but it felt old, like something ripped from Kaze no Stigma or Gundam Seed. My taste in music is sort of off, so take that with a grain of salt. At the same time, while the world of K was very colorful, I found myself finding an overabundance of bright colors that is usually fine but sometimes gets overwhelming. Still, K as a whole is aesthetically pleasing, and that should not be the thing that deters you from it. It saddens me to find another anime that had so much potential but just couldn't really deliver. However, considering its relatively short length, I do believe that K does tell a pretty decent story, and while it isn't a must-watch, I still think it's worth checking out if you have some free time. With all that said, by compiling the scores that I've handed to K for the categories of story, characters, and aesthetics, we arrive at an overall score of 69.3%. Although it might seem like a low score, it doesn't mean that I did not enjoy the series, and I am just as excited for the movie sequel coming this year. Thank you all for watching my review of the anime known as K. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please leave a like or subscribe, since that goes a long way in motivating me to make more content. I do reviews like these every Saturday, and I'll be starting to upload extra content on the side, so expect to see more from me soon. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching. This has been Yvern, and my box.